Welcome to the hottest feud between the US and Great Britain ever since a group of uppity peasants filled the harbor with tea. It's Jack the Ripper, the original slasher icon and Victorian heartthrob, as in you'll cut your heart out while it's still throbbing, versus Zodiac, the deadly killer so enigmatic that he could still be out there. Though after 51 years, it's likely a strong breeze would be all it took to kill him off. Which macabre mass murderer comes out on top? Who's the best brutal butcher? Top satanic salacious slayer? Okay, you get it. Let's start the fight. In the blue corner is Jack the Ripper, no stranger to mystery. You could say he basically wrote the book on enigmatic killers. It's not known just how many victims Jack really had, as he only took direct credit for a few murder victims who matched his MO. And Victorian England was a pretty murdery place to be. Most experts agree that Jack simply didn't wake up one day and decide that murder was on the menu and then go back to a normal life afterwards. It's likely that the much publicized Whitechapel murders were simply only part of a lifelong killing spree. What victims did Jack claim after his much publicized public debut? We may never know. There's really not much that we know about Jack, given that out of 2,000 interviews conducted by police, nobody was able to finger a suspect. There was scant little evidence to review as well, seeing as forensics was still a developing field, though the killer was suspected to be either a butcher, a surgeon, a slaughterer, or a doctor given the skill and precision of some of the cuts into the dead bodies. So what's Jack bringing to this fight? Well, an extraordinary set of stealthy killing skills, given that most of his victims were prostitutes who at the time often worked alongside other prostitutes for safety. Jack may have been spotted once or twice shortly before his victims were found dead, but nobody was ever able to get a clear enough look at him to provide police with a solid lead. It's also believed that most of his victims were killed with a swift slash across the throat, making Jack a very skilled and efficient killer. No doubt he'd have to be in good shape in order to overpower his victims to the point that a single throat slash was the killing blow, or extraordinarily stealthy. Jack's preferred murder weapon is believed to be a knife, and he no doubt possessed an extraordinary appetite for violence, given the horrific state his victims were discovered in. After the initial killing blow, the bodies were often mutilated to the extreme, making Jack one extremely cold-blooded killer. Despite a massive reward and an equally large manhunt, though, Jack managed to remain anonymous, meaning Jack was not just extremely violent, but very intelligent. This combination of savagery and smarts is going to make Jack a very fearsome opponent indeed. In the red corner, representing his home country of the United States of America, is Zodiac, the man who terrified a nation throughout the 60s and 70s. If your parents wouldn't let you spend the night at a friend's house without talking to the parents first, or let you stay out past 10 on a weekend, it's because they grew up under the terrifying shadow of the Zodiac Killer. Jack and Zodiac share a striking similarity in that they both have 5 canonical murders. Both, however, are accused of multiple other murders, and it's extremely likely that both killers had been committing murders their entire lives, or at least continued it past their original killing sprees. Zodiac has had a higher confirmed body count than Jack, though, given that 2 of his murders had double victims. His first 3 murders targeted lovers out on a romantic tryst, and couples all over Northern California refused to visit lovers' lanes or take secluded picnics for years because of fears over Zodiac. Zodiac utilized a handgun in most of his murders, ambushing his victims and opening fire at close range, though on occasion he used a knife, only either when his victim was unaware or after having been tied up. To this day, nobody knows for sure who Zodiac was, and it's likely he's now dead. Much like Jack, it's believed Zodiac went on killing after his official spree was over, and he himself said in a letter to the press at the start of the spree that he already had 37 victims under his belt. This, too, was another similarity with Jack. Zodiac loved the attention of the murders and contacted the press on numerous occasions. Once he even called into a TV show discussing the murders, and he even called the police to self-report a murder. Unlike Jack's letters to the press, Zodiac included a cipher along with the typical edgelord murderer crap that we're all supposed to be super impressed by. Yeah, you like killing people, we get it. Easy to be a super scary killer when you're ambushing people with a gun. Zodiac brings a keen intellect to this fight. As clever as many suspect Jack secretly was despite his efforts to portray himself as ignorant in his letters to the press, his ciphers have stumped the best cryptoanalysts for decades, and only recently was another one of his ciphers cracked by a team using a custom-built computer program. The cipher itself wasn't particularly clever, simply difficult to crack with no clues, and most interestingly used techniques outlined in a US military cryptography manual from the 50s. meaning Zodiac may possibly have had military experience. We do have one eyewitness account of Zodiac though, as he was nearly caught on October 11, 1969, when he was spotted by 3 teenagers as he killed a taxi driver. Rushing to the scene, 2 policemen spotted Zodiac walking away from the scene, but the dispatcher had said the suspect was black because it was the late 1960s. The description given of Zodiac was of a pretty average man approaching middle age, about 5'10". So who wins in our killer showdown? Jack brings stealth, precision, and an extraordinary savagery to this fight, making him a formidable opponent. Zodiac certainly shares a willingness to kill, but doesn't even come close to matching Jack in terms of sheer ferocity. While Jack murdered and then mutilated his victims with nothing but a knife, Zodiac often simply ambushed his victims and then shot them at point-blank range. Anybody can pull the trigger, and it doesn't take much skill to kill someone who's already tied up or totally not expecting to get gunned down in a hail of bullets. Zodiac may have been smart enough to use military-grade encryption, but in the world of serial killers, he really wasn't anything special. His body count may have been high, but truthfully, Zodiac was mostly just a punk with a gun. Jack cut the kidney out of a woman, sending half of it to a newspaper and keeping the other half for himself, so he could eat it. Simply put, Jack's on a totally different level of crazy and savage both, and blows Zodiac completely out of the water. Zodiac was nothing more than a paunchy aging white guy with a gun who got saved by racism. And the moment you take that gun away from him, he's no more a threat than any male Karen. So we're gonna give this fight to the killer so brutal that his crime scene photos still make us gag. Jack the Ripper. Now go check out Siren Head vs. Cartoon Cat vs. Longhorse, or click this other video instead.